There are many things that make Jurassic Blocky great, and there are many things that Jurassic Blocky needs to do better. But I believe that there's only really one thing that could possibly progress the game in the greatest way possible. Many games have already done this thing. It's already been integrated, added, perfected. But you know which game has the highest potential to do it the best? Jurassic Blocky. Today I'll go over the one thing that could change Jurassic Blocky forever. Quick little intervention. If you haven't subscribed already, please do that because it helps me out a ton. We're almost at 500 subscribers, which means if I get the required amount of watch hours that I can make money and then I can actually potentially do this for a long time. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe because it helps me out. All right, thank you. Bye. I've already talked a lot in previous videos about how to make Jurassic Blocky better. There are a lot of things that you can do. But after, maybe a couple weeks after releasing those videos and hearing feedback, there has been one outlier that the devs have been interested in, that the community has been interested in, and that I believe is the best possible option for this game. I'm going to present to you 3 points why this thing is the greatest thing possible to add to the game. And 3 points that I think are pretty undisputable. What is this one thing, you ask? This one thing is abilities. Now, before you groan in your bed wherever you're watching this or behind your TV screen, just remember, there is a lot of evidence backing up that you actually do want this and that you're not tired of me saying it. So, what's that first point? Abilities change PvP. A lot of games do not have good PvP, mostly because the gameplay is shallow. And unfortunately, as much as we like Jurassic Blocky, as a content creator, I don't think the battles are interesting enough to watch long term. A lot of Jurassic Blocky content creators can only really peak at, 100,000 subscribers. And obviously there are a lot of YouTubers who run Jurassic Blocky who have more than that, but they have to expand substantially. You know which game peaked recently? Brawl Stars. And I'm not a huge Brawl Stars proponent because it did a lot of things wrong. But Jurassic Blocky has an opportunity to fill the same gap that Brawl Stars did. The opportunity for customization of moves and stat changes is really, really complicated, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Finding a really good setup is like finding the gold jackpot. And then sharing that online would be so sick. I already have some ideas for you. Ability number 1 could be Bloodbath. Similar to how a lot of dinosaurs already run in the game, the more damage you take, the higher damage you do. The difference about this, though, is that it's not stuck to a particular dinosaur, right? Because, honestly, those abilities mean nothing in the long run, if you really think about it. Because that's just part of the dinosaur. There's no even reason to have an ability. You could just call it something that the dinosaur does. A true ability would fit into a switchable category, something that you don't have to choose. And that's why I think categories should be a part of abilities. I think a really reasonable way to switch it up is maybe dividing it, like I said in previous videos, by piscivore, carnivore, herbivore, right? Those 3 main categories. And then maybe having subsets of the larger categories. So herbivore obviously has much larger of a dinosaur base, similar to carnivores. So maybe, split it up by Tyrannosaurids or Stegosaurids or Ceratopsians. It's actually, it's really difficult. But I think if they nail it, it would be amazing. The second point or proponent for abilities would be the customization. Abilities don't just have to be PvP based. And that's why I think these are possibly the greatest thing you could add to the game. Because these abilities have the opportunity to do 3 things all in one. There could be abilities with stat changes and buffs and attack changes and maybe even an extra attack. But there also can be abilities that increase your swimming speed, that increase your running speed, that increase your stamina. And those would still be useful for PvP, maybe not as useful, but they would still be useful for PvP, and they would have utility outside of PvP for people who wanted it and didn't like battling. And again, those fit into the categories that we've set for them. Swimming could be exclusive to Piscivores, which we already have 3, and I don't know if we have more than that. Suko, Barry, and Spino can all swim in real life. Not to mention Reaper Spino, which is literally the accurate representation of JP3 Spino, and Reaper Spino would be able to swim incredibly fast. That leeways into maybe we could give more exclusive abilities to certain dinos during their crisis moments. Maybe Tarbo is very far down the tier list and is having a really hard time, then give Tarbo an ability that, makes him a little more balanced and people can actually use him. In previous videos, I've said that dinosaurs are very main-based, that people love maining certain dinosaurs. And if you take that away from them and say that this dinosaur is just bad, then they're going to leave the game. That's why abilities are so special, because then a dinosaur could have less stats, but it could be really good with an ability. Like maybe a Spinosaurus with a swimming ability and an attack buff that, gives them more attack when certain thing happens. That could be a really good duo of abilities, and therefore makes the Spinosaurus really good counter against certain dinosaurs. The third point for me that makes abilities amazing is from a content creator point. I did a lot of studying yesterday, and at the point of recording this, which I'm sure you could figure out the date if you just looked at their YouTube channels, KU Battlefield and Bvox both live streamed yesterday. Now, of course, Bvox didn't give me as much data because he wasn't running what KU was, but KU ran a tournament for Robux. Now, I did not see who won, mostly because I was busy, but I did see enough to where my data from my own live streams kind of came through and showed. From what I saw, a lot of people with D-Rex still lost, and a lot of people with D-Rex still won. Remember, D-Rex got the highest stat in the entire game. So there is already variation, but then when you look inside and you see what's going on, it becomes and paints a different story entirely. In reality, the players using these dinosaurs aren't actually improving, they are just using the mechanics more efficiently, which is good. You want the players to care and start improving and, work on their PvP skills. But what I saw was dry and raw, and no one was really giving it their all. A lot of people, the combat is really just slow and tedious. I think it'd be really interesting to have that mystery component where, what abilities are they going to run? Because at that point, then a Reaper Spino could beat a D-Rex if it has the right abilities. Well, how could a Reaper Spino beat a D-Rex with the pure stat buffs of D-Rex being insane? Well, I'll give you an example. D-Rex has a very high attack and health stat, but is incredibly slow. So it's susceptible to attacks that go through it, because it can't hit fast enough in order to hit dinosaurs. That's why Reaper Spino already counters it as it is. The best way to counter a dino that is really slow is to create a high stamina, high speed dino that has a long hitbox. What does that sound like? Reaper Spino. You know what ability would make that broken? Every single time you hit an attack, you gain stamina. We could call this ability Energizer. It would be an ability open to the Piscivores, but it'd also be open to the longer hitboxes of, carnivores and herbivores. From a content creator point, we just need more to latch onto. And I'm not just saying add abilities for stats, I mean add abilities that have custom animations. And we could be working on this forever, and it would take a long time. But if we got started now, we could potentially have this done by the end of 2026. And that would be a huge development for the game. Now, I don't want to, control Jurassic Blocky here. But all I'm saying is it would be really beneficial if they expanded their team for this one. Abilities are incredibly hard to find, and make sure that they're balanced. Even a naturally organized and balanced team like Brawl Stars couldn't handle their own abilities. With that, I give you 3 reasons why abilities would be the greatest possible thing to add to Jurassic Blocky. If you like this content, please be sure to subscribe. Only about 2% of you are subscribed, and to be honest, it's really fun to make these videos. So all I can do is encourage you to subscribe, and yeah, have a good day. Zillblade out.